You can trust me. I'm not going to give you I'm not going to mislead you. I'm a lawman.
But they're going to have this fight, Chris.
No, they're not.
Well,
no, hold on. I'm not going to discuss that with you because I've just said the fight doesn't happen.
This seems to mention is also a factor. Conor Benn being the younger man at his prime, yeah?
If I would say unhealthy, I mean, he was extremely strict.
Chris Eubank Sr. has caused a big stir by strongly criticizing the planned fight between his son, Chris Eubank Jr., and Conor Benn. His main issue is with the 157-pound catch weight limit, saying Eubank Sr. is against it isn't enough. He's completely against the idea of his son dropping to such a low and dangerous weight. Chris Eubank Jr. usually fights at middleweight or super middleweight, so asking him to fight at 157 pounds is risky. Eubank Sr. doesn't just disagree, he's totally against it. Why? Because the dangers are real. Dehydration, muscle loss, and a drop in strength. These are serious side effects of losing too much weight too quickly. Eubank Sr. is worried about his son's health, and he's made it clear he won't let his son be forced into a situation that could harm him. This fight isn't just about boxing. It's about protecting his son's safety.
If he's fighting at 168, you go ahead and do but you cannot come down to 160. I will not allow that. I will not allow it, or let me rephrase it. May the divine providence not allow that fight to ever happen. Okay? You are to stay at 168. And, Matchroom, let Conor go and have his illustrious career here in the United Kingdom and then in the United States, because he beats them all. That's how fantastic I think he is. I've always backed that young man. I've always backed you, Conor. I've always backed you. Okay?
Chris Eubank Sr. has made another bold claim. He says the original cancellation of the fight between Chris Eubank Jr. and Conor Benn wasn't just chance. According to him, it was meant to happen, like fate or a higher power stepped in to stop a fight that shouldn't have happened. To Eubank Sr., it wasn't just a canceled match, it was a warning. He says he was the one who stopped the fight, the first time, using his responsibility as a father and his experience as a former world champion. And he's made it clear. He'll step in again if needed, because his son's safety comes first. Although he respects Conor Benn's skills, Eubank Sr. didn't hold back when talking about Benn's team. He suggested that they care more about money than about the fighter's health. His message is clear. The fight is not worth the risk. His son's safety is his #1 priority, and he won't compromise on that.
You can trust me. You've seen me get up in a fight I can't win and walk back into the fire. You can trust me. I'm not going to give you I'm not going to mislead you. I'm a lawman.
But they're going to have this fight, Chris.
No, they're not.
Well,
no, hold on. I'm not going to discuss that with you because I've just said the fight doesn't happen. It's finished.
You can't stop it.
Again, I stopped it the first time. But you want me to qualify that?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
When the fight was made, I said that fight is not happening. I didn't say anything. I didn't say anything again up until the day of the fight, where it was cancelled the day before.
Chris Eubank Jr. has always been open about the complicated relationship he has with his father, Chris Eubank Sr. Growing up, he lived under his father's strict rules and high expectations, which made life feel very heavy and stressful. There was always pressure to succeed in boxing and in life, which led to a lot of frustration and rebellion. Eubank Jr. admits that this intense environment, driven by his father's tough parenting, even affected his time in school. He struggled there, feeling like he had no space to express himself. Even though they clashed, Eubank Jr. knows his father played a big part in shaping his boxing career and the way he fights. But still, there's a lot of tension between them. Now, as an adult, Eubank Jr. still feels like his father's presence and control are always there, especially when Eubank Sr. takes credit for his success. He does feel thankful for the foundation his father gave him, but more than anything, he wants independence. He wants to be his own man, make his own choices, and step out of his father's shadow.
If I would say unhealthy, I mean, he was extremely strict. I got away with nothing. If I messed up in school, if I didn't do a chore, if I got into a fight with my brothers, it was physical punishment, whether it was a belt, whether it was a cane, whether it was, a slap. Back then, in the 90s, that was how you disciplined your kids. So that is where my fear obviously originated from, having to deal with that. But again, that type of punishment and that type of upbringing, that type of strictness, it made me who I am today.
At the same time, Chris Eubank Sr. has always believed that his son, Eubank Jr., had the talent to become one of boxing's all-time greats. But when he looks back at their journey, there's a strong sense of disappointment in his words. He feels that Eubank Jr.'s career never reached its full potential, and he believes it's because his son didn't stick to the path he had carefully planned for him. Eubank Sr. says that if his son had followed the training style and mindset he taught him, he could have become a dominant force in the sport. His frustration is clear. He sees Eubank Jr.'s decision to go his own way as the main reason his career didn't go further. But for Eubank Sr., it's not just about titles or fame. It's about the greatness he believes was left unreached. He says it came down to a lack of discipline, trust in the process, and willingness to learn from experience. These are the qualities he feels his son didn't fully accept, and they're what, in his eyes, held Eubank Jr. back from becoming the champion he was meant to be.
If you don't listen, you're gonna feel.
So now he's not listening when you're winning. He can't win.
He has never.
He can't win now, can he?
He hasn't. Sorry, he has never listened.
Make your mind up, Chris. 1 minute.
No, I've made up my mind. You're just hearing it for the first time.
Okay.
He's never listened. He's my son. I know what he is.
I know, you know better than all of us.
My son could have been a tremendous fighter. He electrified me when watching him.
I agree on that, but he hasn't been, has he?
Because he doesn't listen, and when you don't listen, okay, you have to.
Chris Eubank Sr. has recently spoken openly about his past, especially about the way he raised his children. Most importantly, Eubank Jr. In a rare and honest moment, he admitted that his strict and controlling parenting style may have hurt his relationship with his kids. This realization adds emotional weight to everything he says about his son's career and their distant bond. Eubank Sr. says his biggest regret is not building a more open, understanding relationship with Eubank Jr. He believes that if things had been different between them, it could have changed how they connected, not just as father and son, but also in their boxing journey. Their relationship got even more tense. After they clashed in public, especially when Eubank Jr. made the bold choice to break away and manage his boxing career on his own. But this wasn't just about fighting styles, it was an emotional struggle for freedom and respect. Eubank Jr. wanted to step out of his father's shadow and create his own identity in the boxing world. To Eubank Sr., that move felt like a betrayal. Still, despite all the tension, Eubank Sr. has always said that he wants his son to succeed, even if their relationship hasn't been easy. His recent reflections show a deep wish that things had turned out differently. Maybe with a more balanced approach, they could have avoided the pain that shaped both of their lives and careers.
The biggest thing you've been wrong about in the last year?
That's funny. My biological children. Move on.
What have you been wrong about with your biological
You asked me
children?
the question, I gave you the answer. That's private. Move on.
What's your biggest regret?
My son asked me, Sebastian, he said to me, Dad, we're in Marylebone. He said, Dad, let's go and smoke a spliff together and walk around the block. Let's walk around the block and smoke a spliff together. The greatest offer of my life I turned down because I was broke. I did something unspeakable.
What was the unspeakable thing you did?
Not your business. How dare you? If I
Don't
if I-
ask, you don't get.
You should know. It's called discernment. I've brought you close enough for you to understand. Be careful to question me, young man. Know your place.
On the other hand, Don Charles, a seasoned boxing trainer with years of experience, has shared his thoughts on the much-talked-about fight between Chris Eubank Jr. and Conor Benn. Like Chris Eubank Sr., Charles is also concerned, but he's looking at it from a trainer's perspective. He believes that age, weight, and physical condition will play a huge role in deciding who wins. Charles points out that Conor Benn has a clear advantage. He's younger, in his prime, and full of energy. That youth gives him an explosive edge. The age gap between him and Eubank Jr. is significant, and Charles sees Benn as the fresher, more dangerous fighter right now. He also mentions Benn's aggressive style, which is a lot like his father Nigel. Benn, a relentless, come-forward approach that can overwhelm opponents. If Eubank Jr. isn't fully prepared, that pressure could be too much. Even though Eubank Jr. may have a size advantage, Charles says that alone won't be enough. His performance will depend on how disciplined he's been in his training and lifestyle. Without that discipline, he could be in trouble. In the end, Charles says this is a 50-50 fight. Anything can happen. Boxing is unpredictable, and surprises are always around the corner.
As a trainer, somebody who's trained fighters for a long time, do you feel like that's going to be a big part of this fight? And do you feel like it's a bit dangerous for Chris?
Well, most definitely. If anyone should know, his father, Senior, he said his mind, and now I second that opinion. That's a factor. The weight is a factor. The age, nobody seems to mention, is also a factor. Conor Benn being the younger man at his prime, yeah? Honestly, it wouldn't surprise me if Benn, especially the way he fights like his father, very aggressive, yeah? And listen, if I'm gonna have to, I normally can't say to you, predict what I believe will happen. Christopher Jr. is the bigger man, granted. It depends. It depends. If he's been living the lifestyle, that's also a factor.
So,
Frank, you've made it clear that you'd like to see Conor Benn knock out Chris Eubank Jr. You've made it clear who you want to see win that fight. How do you actually see the fight playing out, and what have you made of Chris Eubank, the way that he's carried himself in the build-up?
First of all, we all talk about the best fight and the best. That's not the best fight and the best, but it's a fight. There's a demand for it from the public because of their history. So that's why it's selling so well and doing so much business. How do I see it playing out? I don't know if Conor can give away the weight. I don't know. I hope he can.
Do you agree with Chris Eubank Sr. where he says that the fight is unsafe to make due to the weight?
That's up to his teams to decide that. It's up to the boxing board of control. That's not up to me.
Frank Warren has also shared his thoughts on the upcoming fight between Conor Benn and Chris Eubank Jr., recognizing just how much the public wants to see it, especially because of the long-standing rivalry between their famous families. Warren made it clear that he favors Conor Benn, but he was honest about the challenges this fight brings, especially when it comes to weight. He pointed out that Benn moving up in weight could be a major risk. It raises a big question. Can Benn still perform at a high level when he's giving up a size and strength advantage to Eubank Jr.? According to Warren, that could be a deciding factor in the fight. On the topic of safety, Warren addressed Eubank Jr.'s concerns. He said the final decision on whether the fight should happen lies with the fighter teams and the boxing authorities. They must decide if it's safe and fair. While Warren admitted this might not be the most technical fight, he highlighted its huge popularity. The fans want it, and that can't be ignored. What do you think? Do you agree with Warren's take on the fight and its challenges? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like and